Hi guys, so this morning I'll be shooting a Q&A video down here on our pavilion. This is probably one of the most peaceful spots on our property. The birds are singing, the sun's shining. What more could one want? I do have some painting going on up in the shop for a future video, so I'll probably get right to it here. I want to try to make this quick. My niece usually gets these questions together, so sometimes I don't even really know what's coming, but I'll try to do my best to answer them. The first questions are from last month's Q&A video. Lauren Amos asks, can you tell us more about the daily vitamin you take? I take a multivitamin. It's Solar Ray brand, and I get them from Amazon. I'm sure you can get them elsewhere too, but I'll link it down below in case you're looking for something like this, but I really like them. It's just so easy to just take that one vitamin every day. And then I also take glucosamine chondroitin. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'll try to link that down below also, but it is by Dr. something brand, not even sure, but it is a joint health vitamin that I take. Kathy Wade says, hey Mary, could you please let us know in your next Q&A what your favorite fonts are and where you get most of them? I like to use Magnolia Sky, Buttercup, Fashion, Bready, Gisela, just to name a few of the cursive ones. And then as for the print fonts, it's always harder for me for some reason to find nice ones like that, but I use Bright, League Spartan I've used, and sometimes I'll just use what's on the computer, like the Calibri, and then Horizon is one I use sometimes for my thumbnails. It's a really bold font. But as for where I get them from, I usually go to the Graphics Fairy website. I'll try to link that down below also. On there, she has them grouped kind of in different categories. Like if you're looking for a vintage font or a wedding font, you click on that and then it will take you to another place to, download them. I know the Squirrel font is a place where you can get all kinds of different ones. And sometimes I do need to purchase like a commercial or I guess that's what you call it, license. The next question here is a blessed life indeed. Very weird and rude question is, how old are you? Not weird and rude at all. I don't mind. I'm 42. Jen Toland says, I wanted to ask, you mentioned a while back that you were worried about your kitty being skinnier and losing weight. Is your cat okay now, and could you give us an update? Thanks for caring. I appreciate that. But yeah, Twinkle up here always loses weight during the summer. I guess that's just how he is. He roams about a lot. During the summer, then during the winter months, he just kind of lays around, and I guess that's probably why he's, much fatter during the winter. But we have this big meadow here to my right, and he just lives in there. He loves to hunt. So I guess that's probably why he loses weight, because he seems to be happy and he eats well. He's treated for, ticks, and he's wormed, and there's really nothing wrong with him, but he just loses weight. Ruth Thomas says, do you ever go to salvage stores and make things from other parts? Oh yes, that's definitely so much fun to do. I've never really made a video on doing exactly that, but I guess some of my trash to treasure videos might be kind of that way, but I know what you're saying. It's just literally, taking a couple things, maybe sticking it together and just making something else, and just having bought it at a thrift store and just gotten it for almost nothing is always so much fun, but I'll definitely have to keep that in mind for a future video. And I think that is all the questions for the Q&A video. So moving on to the pavilion makeover, which is where I'm sitting right now. We are really enjoying the space here. Edna Johnson says, do you have electric running to the pavilion, and do you get mosquitoes there near the water? We are planning on running electric down here. Right now I can run a few cords up to the house. It's not that far away if I need electric down here. And as for the mosquitoes, we did get a lot of questions about that. It's not bad down here, surprisingly. I'm not sure why it's not worse than it is, because I know often where you have water sitting, you have mosquitoes, but right now I'm not sensing any around here, and I don't have any spray or bug repellent on me. Now in the evening sometimes we'll get a couple bites, but we can always use that, again, repellent, and that usually keeps them away. So thankfully that's not too much of a problem. Joe Hall says, the Apron is brilliant. For the first time in my 58 years, I too had to run the weed eater. My husband fell and broke both ankles. Oh my, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't mind it, but the grass gets all over me. What fabric is the Apron? I've bought it years ago. I'm pretty sure I probably got it at Zink's Fabric Outlet here in our area. I'd say it's more of a canvasy type fabric. It's very, smooth. It doesn't, like the grass doesn't stick the best to it. It's easy to just shake it off afterwards, but I imagine any, cotton fabric would probably work. Cece asked, did you sand the deck or chairs before adding stain? No, we did not. I believe I did have a few spots that I sanded where we had some paint drippings here on the floor, but otherwise no need to sand. And then the chairs, the Adirondack chairs, just a good cleaning was all those needed. And then I think I had gotten my son to actually wash them down with water and soap because they were pretty dirty, and then dried them in the sun and then applied the paint. Barbara Cole asks, have you lived there all your life since you mentioned that your father built the cabin? We used to live a couple houses down the road from here until I was about 8 or 9 years old. My parents bought this acreage up here where we're at now, mostly wooded, no buildings. They ended up building the brown shop where I paint in. You guys probably see it in my videos. It's pretty old. It's probably, in the 30 years old. And we actually ended up moving in there until the house was built. So yeah, most of my life I would have lived here. After I got married, we lived elsewhere for a number of years, and then we got the opportunity to buy this place, and we have not regretted it. We love it here. Melody Shular asks, does the pond freeze enough so that you can ice skate in the winter? Yes, it does, if our winters are cold enough, and it seems the past couple years they have not really been. We've had cold spells, but maybe not long enough to, freeze it over that it would be safe to skate, but definitely we have skated on here already. Teresa Kerwin asks, how do you keep your cats safe with all the woods in the back? I would be afraid they would get eaten by some animal. Do they stay inside at night, or do you do something else to keep them safe? They actually have a little cat door in the basement where they can go inside anytime. I don't really worry a lot about that, although that would be horrible. They are pretty smart. I feel like they kind of know if something would be lurking about. I don't know. I guess I hope that never would happen, but they both have their claws, so I imagine they could probably, fend for themselves somewhat. Caroline is asking, I'm wondering how many acres you have on your property. We have around 6 acres right now. When my parents started out, it was, I think, closer to 10 acres. And then since some has been sold off to my sister and her family, which live just along the same driveway here. Isabella asks, can I ask you 3 questions? First, is your pond a natural pond? And second, how did you stabilize the posts that are in the water? And what are the posts made of? I always kind of marvel about these posts. She's talking about the structure where I'm sitting in right now. The 2 posts here on the outer side are in the water, and they've been that way for years, and they still seem okay. I know when my dad put them in, they are of course, treated posts, so that would help. And I'm pretty sure he treated it with some kind of an oil or something to kind of repel the water. So I guess that probably, helps too. He actually built this structure before the water level was up to this place here. The pond just slowly, filled up, and it is a natural pond. To answer that question, it is spring fed, but it took a long time to, fill it up. So he was able to build this structure before the water was up to where it is now. My niece always throws some funny and sometimes annoying comments in here, but I'll just skip over those. Moving on to the next video, which is the day in the life. The first question here is, what temperature did you grill all of your food at, and how long did it take? Also, what time do you usually go to bed? As for the temperature of what I was grilling, I don't actually use a thermometer, to stick it in the meat to see, how hot it is, but as for the grill temperature, I believe it was around 350 to 400. Our grill gets really hot, which I usually turn it down, but I'd say it was probably around there. I guess I should have checked for sure, but I often just go by how something looks to see if it's ready. As for the chicken breasts, I think that is what I had made in this video. Sometimes, if they're really big and fat especially, I'll cut them open and just part them to make sure, everything is cooked through. And as for how long did it take, I'm thinking, in 15 minutes you could grill a chicken breast through. And as for what time I usually get to bed, I'm a night owl, guys. I usually see 11 o'clock, sometimes 12 and 1. I know I should do better in getting my sleep, but it's just so easy for me to, if I have videos to edit or computer stuff to do is to just do it after everyone's in bed and everything's peaceful and quiet. So Jill Green asks, the packaging that you did for the store, was that a week's worth of orders, or do you have that much to pack for one day? I would say that was probably closer to a day's worth. I was just recently looking over our, the average number of orders we get per day, and it's probably around 30. Now, of course, some days it's much more than that and some days less, but it kind of averages that. And of course, MB does not work on Saturdays and Sundays, so of course sometime then she would have to, package those orders also during the week. So I think her record number of orders that she has packaged in one day was maybe 89, if I'm correct, which is awesome. I always say I could not do this without her. She does a really good job. Missy Green says, packing downstairs, I can almost smell the candles. Yeah, it smells really good back in that room. I love the video with your son. Does he go to college? And what do you watch on Netflix? The older son, Kenny, he does not go to college. He will turn 21 here in October. And then Ephraim, the youngest one, will be ready for 8th grade. And as for what I watch on Netflix, I really like any crime-related shows. In fact, I think in another life, I would have wanted to be a detective. I know, sounds far out, but I just love, watching shows like that. As a family, we watched Hawaii Five-0, Magnum PI, the old and the one that's out now, NCIS. Kenny and I watched the Harry Bosch episodes together. That was on Amazon Prime. And I read all of those books by Michael Connelly, so that's kind of what interested me to watch that. But yeah, anything crime related. I also like, old-fashioned shows that kind of go back in time. Always enjoyed Anne of Green Gables, and Downton Abbey was a more recent one that I really liked. In fact, if any of you are fans of those and kind of know of similar shows like that, I'd be interested to hear about them. I feel like there's more out there that I just don't know about. Shura Song says, do you ever try grilling your corn on the cob with the husk on? And I've never done it myself, but I do microwave fresh corn with the husks on. I didn't know you could do that, and it works great. Do you guys use a microwave oven? We do have a microwave that we use, and I think we've done the corn thing with the husk on over the fire already. I can't really remember ever doing it on our grill, but I guess I should try it sometime. So here we are just a little bit later. I had to run up and do a few things and back again. So the next question here is Margie saying, I have a window cat, his preferred method of in and out. And Mary, do you ever lose it and scream at anyone? Well, I can honestly say I don't ever just feel the urge to yell. If I'm being honest here, I don't like loud noises. I never really like that if people kind of seem to be out of control and just yelled. That's not to say I don't raise my voice, because I do that with my boys sometimes, and I even wish I wouldn't do that. I try to work with that because, in my opinion, I feel like if someone feels the need to scream and yell, it's, I don't know, kind of showing a void maybe, because doesn't their word mean enough if they just speak normally? I don't know, just my opinion, but I realize we all have different emotions and kind of react to different things in different ways. So trust me, I'm not perfect in that. I don't always say nice things. I may not just raise my voice in doing that, but I can really just sometimes speak before thinking, and I try to work with that every day. So the last questions here are from the shop update video. So the next question here is from Mary Schmidt. She has some really nice comments here. Thank you for that. But she's wondering what are my favorite videos to make. Definitely probably the trash to treasure ones, or anything in that, related to that, as far as, taking something that is kind of old and hopeless looking and making it beautiful again. That's, to me, so much fun to do, and I also like to shoot the videos for those too. So Kathy Hyde is asking, do you seal the furniture after you paint it, and what are you cleaning it with? I sometimes use a wax. I like the Annie Sloan wax, and I also use polyacrylic. I usually use the Minwax brand. Both of those products are great for sealing furniture, as for, protecting it, and especially sometimes even just putting a protective coat over the counter part of it, or like the surface part, even if you don't do all the sides and the trimmings or whatever, depending on what the piece is. But maybe a tabletop, sometimes I'll just do the top and not the legs even, just to protect that paint. But some pieces I never apply a sealer. It just kind of depends on if I feel like the piece doesn't get a lot of wear and tear, I don't even bother sealing it. And then sometimes, depending on how the surface was previous to the paint, if it was really old and worn out, I'm more confident that my paint will stay put, that I don't need a sealer. But if a piece is really glossy and kind of hard to get your paint to stick to it, I'd probably recommend a wax or a polyacrylic. And as for cleaning furniture, I know in the video my mom and I had cleaned the furniture. It was pretty dirty, so we used Mr. Clean. I don't normally do that on a regular basis. At home I'll just use a damp rag to dust our furniture, but if something's really dirty, I do go to some of that cleaner because it does do the best job, if you ask me. So the next question here is, what was your building originally used for? My parents had actually built that shop when we were still just young girls at home, probably teenagers, my sister and I. And if you are an Amish family and have daughters, you usually will need to build a shop of some kind to hold wedding receptions in, and then also to have, to host church. So that is why that shop was built for. My parents had, Amish families come together in people's homes to have church, and a lot of the houses aren't big enough, or the churches are too big to hold everyone in their house, so they will have a separate building for that, and that was why the white shop was built. Amy is asking, do you think that chalk paint is everything it's cracked up to be? I love this question because I actually kind of feel the same way. I like to try new things, so I'm always up to try new chalk paints or milk paints. I enjoy that. It's just fun to me, but I just find myself often just going back to my good old Do It Best brand latex paint, satin base. I also prefer that, so I'm with you on that. Sometimes I will still apply a wax or a polyacrylic even over that paint, like I talked about before, just to protect the finish, but I know at one point especially I really felt like chalk paint was kind of overrated, but I have since kind of learned to enjoy it, again, just to kind of dabble with it more than anything. But I feel like there's definitely nothing wrong with just a good old latex paint. So that pretty much concludes today's video. I know I don't nearly get to all of the questions, and I apologize for that. It's not that your question isn't important, it's just that I only have so much time to answer a certain amount, and again, my niece kind of goes through and just picks some random ones out. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I hope you're all having a great week, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye.